Rain tapped gently against the glass as Emma stepped into the boutique, her coat heavy with water, her shoes leaving faint prints on the polished floor. The store was warm, glowing with golden light, and smelled faintly of expensive perfume. To most, it was just another high-end fashion shop. But to Emma, it held a memory. She slowly approached a display near the window. Her fingers grazed a red dress, soft, elegant, with a flare of warmth in its fabric. Her lips curled into a small, sad smile. It was just like the one her daughter had once pointed to in a magazine, full of hope and dreams. Emma wasn't here to buy it. She knew she couldn't. She was just remembering. Before she could lose herself in thought, a voice sliced through the calm like a blade. "Ma'am, our items aren't for browsing. This isn't a thrift store." Emma turned to see a sharply dressed salesman, arms crossed, staring her down with disdain. He looked her over, the tired eyes, the frayed sleeves, the damp boots. And made a decision: she didn't belong. Emma lowered her gaze. Embarrassment flushed her cheeks. She whispered, "I'm not here to buy. Just remembering." The salesman rolled his eyes and walked off, leaving Emma standing there, a woman shaped by loss, judged by appearance, but holding on to a piece of love no price tag could define. She gave the dress one last look, then turned slowly toward the door. 2 years earlier, the hospital room was filled with quiet beeps and the scent of disinfectant, but to Emma and her daughter Lily, it was a world of dreams and hope. Lily, no older than 7, lay propped up on pillows, her bald head wrapped in a soft scarf, eyes bright with life. In her tiny hands, she held a torn magazine page featuring a beautiful red dress. "I'll wear that on my first day back at school, Mommy," she declared with excitement, her voice full of determination. Emma, fighting back tears, smiled and brushed a strand of hair, long gone now, from her daughter's forehead. "You'll shine like the sun, sweetheart," she whispered, believing it with all her heart. But life, cruel and silent, had other plans. The very next morning, Lily's light faded. The red dress became a symbol of a future that would never come, a memory frozen in time. Back in the boutique, Emma's hands tighten around the red fabric. She isn't just touching a dress, she's touching a dream that never came true. Around her, people browse and chatter, but no one sees the grief that presses against her chest like a weight too heavy to bear. To them, she's just a poor woman with no business being in a luxury store. But to Emma, that dress is the last spark of a promise made, and one she still hopes to keep, somehow. In the quiet corner of the boutique, where warmth and wealth seemed to gather in silence, an older woman had been watching. Dressed in a soft gray coat, pearls resting gently at her collarbone, she held the kind of presence that turned heads. But she had eyes only for Emma. She had seen it all: the hesitant way Emma touched the red dress, the cruel dismissal by the salesman, the quiet pain behind her lowered gaze. And she felt something stir, not pity, but understanding. With graceful steps, she approached Emma, her voice gentle yet certain. "That dress, was it for someone special?" Emma tried to speak, but her lips trembled, and her eyes filled. She nodded once, clutching the fabric like it was the last piece of something sacred. Without hesitation, the woman turned to the salesman. "I'll take the dress. Wrap it beautifully." Her voice carried authority that silenced the man instantly. Moments later, she placed the wrapped dress into Emma's arms, not as a gift, but as a bridge between two hearts that knew pain. "For her," she said softly. "And for you." Emma stood frozen, overwhelmed. No one had seen her pain in so long, not truly. And yet this stranger, with nothing to gain, had reached into her sorrow with kindness. It wasn't just a dress anymore. It was grace in fabric, healing in a box. A reminder that love never fades, and strangers can carry light where we least expect it. The soft flicker of candlelight filled Emma's tiny apartment, casting long shadows on the peeling walls. The silence was comforting, like an embrace from the past. In the center of the room, Lily's small bed sat untouched, still made with the same care Emma had always shown. Emma gently laid the red dress across the bedspread, smoothing it out with reverent hands. It looked perfect there, as if waiting to be worn by a little girl full of dreams. She leaned down and whispered, her voice barely audible but thick with emotion. "You got your first day dress, baby." There were no more tears. Only stillness, and a quiet kind of peace. Emma turned and walked to the corner where an old sewing machine stood, tucked beneath a faded cloth. She uncovered it slowly, as if awakening something long buried. With trembling fingers, she threaded the needle and pulled out a roll of red fabric, the same shade Lily had loved. The machine groaned to life, and Emma began to sew. Slowly at first, her hands unsure, but with every stitch, her purpose grew clearer. Soft patterns took shape. Tiny dresses for children who, like Lily, dreamed of school days and sunlight and a chance to shine. It wasn't just fabric. It was healing. It was hope stitched into every seam. Because love doesn't end, it simply changes form. And in Emma's hands, love was becoming something beautiful once again. 1 year later, sunlight poured through the large windows of the children's hospital, spilling warmth across the brightly painted walls. Laughter rang down the halls, light, free, and full of life. In a small playroom, a young girl spun in circles, her red dress flaring like petals in the wind. Her eyes sparkled with joy, her parents watching with tearful smiles. Nurses paused to admire her, their faces glowing with quiet pride. On the wall nearby, a brass plaque gleamed in the light. It read, "Lily's Closet, Dresses for Courageous Hearts." Beneath it, a row of tiny dresses in every shade of love and hope hung neatly, each one stitched by Emma's hands. In the back of the room, Emma stood silently, hands clasped in front of her. She didn't need applause or recognition. Seeing that little girl twirl was more than enough. Beside her stood the elegant stranger, the same woman who had once bought her a dress without asking for anything in return. Her eyes never left the children. She leaned in, voice soft but strong. "Kindness is never wasted." Emma's eyes filled, but this time with gratitude, not grief. She turned to the woman, her voice barely a whisper. "Neither is love." Together, they watched as another girl stepped forward, chosen dress in hand. Another heart warmed, another light sparked, all because someone once chose compassion over judgment.